badly. When he passes the gate, he knocks his head. When he's coming back in, he bullies him, takes his book, takes his bags. And then that young child goes up to complain to the father of the house. Now see what my houseboy is, what your houseboy is doing to me. And the reaction of the father is to hit the child and shoot the child dead for complaining about what the security man at the gate is doing. Just shoots him dead. Says, get off, stop complaining. Are you in that I should know?
So we are having challenges with your audio.
Can you hear me? If you can hear me, wave. They say they can't hear me.
Yeah, we were having, it was cutting in and out for a minute there.
Okay. Is it better now?
It's better now.
Okay. So I was saying that the analogy is of a child.
Maybe you want to try turning off your video. Maybe you want to try turning off your video.
Child complaining to the father that the security at the gate goes in. Okay, I'll do. Is it now? Maybe I should use. You have to do something. What's the point of having this equipment?
Sometimes if you turn off the video, the bandwidth becomes stronger so that we can hear until maybe there's another device. Pastor Olu, can you help, please? Please give us a few seconds while we're trying to sort out the back end audio.
I work now.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
we can.
we can hear you.
Is it a bit better now?
A lot better, yes.
All right, let's hope this will go on. I was saying that the analogy is of a young child complaining to the father of the house that the gate man or the security man is treating him or her badly, that as she walks in and out of the gate or even walks within the compound, the gate man comes to knock his head, to harass him, to shout at him, to threaten him, to tell him to stop walking around, to go back to his room and all that and all that. And you are complaining to your dad. The gate man is sack this gate man, retrain him, in fact, pay him well, so that maybe if you pay him to behave, no, my bells, no, I bring somewhere today. Depth or lack of understanding of what
So sorry. Not sure what's going on with the network today, but I'm sure.
No, it's my device. I'm going to change it.
Okay.
I'm using one supposedly sophisticated device. It's failing. By the way, Jumoke is an American device, and maybe America, he wants to jackpot back to America. He doesn't understand Nigeria.
Check properly, sir. It may have made somewhere else on it.
Well, I bought it in America. I bought it in on the way to Pennsylvania, that place. Anyway, so the father then shoots the child. I said it has implications. Number one, a reflection of the decay, the moral, the morass, the wickedness, and the selfishness of our rulers. Tell them I said so. They've all been very wicked, been very selfish, been very self-serving. The second implication is that the voice of the people are finally crying and yearning for attention and respite. And the third is very spiritual. The blood of those children have been spilt on that ground. The government was trying to make us believe that nobody was killed. That's impossible. That's a lie. People died and people were injured. I saw the bodies, I saw the pictures of the bodies of people, and I saw those that were injured. Even if they didn't die, they were only injured. They spilled blood on that ground. And that blood is speaking better than the blood of Abel. And that blood is a blood of sacrifice for Nigeria. And God in heaven will not allow that blood to fail. He will not allow that blood to be wasted. With that blood that they shed, they spelt their own doom. That's what they don't realize. Without the shedding of blood, there's no remission of sins. And God looked away in a dark, cloudy night and allowed blood to be spilled so that what he wants to do concerning Nigeria will be irreversible because some people shed their blood. Nigeria will be great again, whether they like it or not. Please welcome with me today, Nimah Arigbabu, Program Manager, Nigeria or NG Voices. We've asked her to please come and speak to us concerning the Nigerian youth in nation building, the way forward. What do we do concerning Nigeria? How do we fix Nigeria? How do we turn things around in Nigeria? How do the youth come and take their place and chase away all this banditry in governance, this stealing, this corruption, this wickedness in governance, and help us build a great Nigeria? Nimah, please introduce yourself properly, and you have the floor.
Thank you very much for inviting me to come and have this conversation. I would first of all like to thank everyone that's here, including the organizers of this conversation, a well-timely and needed conversation that we are actually on. Also, thank you to the moderators and thank you to everyone who has also, joined in to hear what we have to say. My name is Nimah Arigbabu. I am the founder of NG Voices. NG Voices is a civic engagement platform aimed at bridging the gap between citizens and their elected officials. The idea is to ensure that we hold these individuals, the people that we've actually voted into office, we hold them into account, and you as citizens have the right to be able to speak to them and ask them to ensure that, every single promise that they've made is being met, and every other thing that they're supposed to provide for the citizens are also being met as well. That's the entire idea and premise of NG Voices in itself. So I would want to say again, thank you for coming and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. It may not be recognized now, people may not know it, but very soon we will know it. And I'm hoping that it's just the beginning of many great things. And we'll be hearing a lot more from you. Okay, so how long has NG Voices been around? And what do you think of what happened 2 years ago in Nigeria? First of all, the protests by the young people, was it needed? Was it necessary? Were they wasting our time? Or were they just attention seeking? Was there a fundamental thing they were trying to get across to Nigeria? Number two, why did Nigeria get to this level, if you know, as to where, if it's true, assuming that, well, it's just a rumor, the police became so brutal and became so aggressive and not even able to do what they were primarily supposed to do? And then number three, what did you think of the government's action, reaction, inaction, and response? Thank you.
Thank you for asking these questions, and I'll try my best to ensure that I respond to everything. Well, to begin, why we actually started NG Voices. NG Voices was actually a birth child of, the NSAS movement in itself. What had happened at the time was we kind of noticed, myself and my co-founder, we kind of noticed that during NG Voices, we had a lot of misinformation going on. And we also had people who were not particularly getting interested in what was going on at the time. And this wasn't particularly their fault. We had the language barrier. We also had the issue of misinformation. So to be able to tackle it, I was able to get a few volunteers who understood different languages that we had in Nigeria. So we did a volunteer pool and a volunteer call. Every message that was being every message that was being sent out using social media was being translated to all languages within, every language that we know that existed in Nigeria. So what had happened at the time was, if you had, I think there was Ishan, if I'm not pronouncing it well, please forgive me. Ishan language, I think, is from Edo State. We had people translate that language and they started sending broadcast messages. We had people like MI actually get those kind of messages, and they forwarded it explaining what NSAS was about and why everyone needed to get involved. I won't say that, NG Voices was the reason you had most people come out, no. But what had happened was people were able to understand why others were coming out, because we were able to also translate the languages in a way that people could understand. And they started getting involved. We had people who, volunteered their time. We had people who also volunteered, different resources just to ensure that the message was actually out there. And shortly after NG Voice, after NSAS, with the way the government, dispersed the crowd and used force to, make everyone go back to sit down at home, we decided to then, restructure what we were doing, which was ensuring that people understood the premise of the democracy. People understood why you actually go out to vote. People understood why you need to be able to hold these individuals accountable for whatever actions that, they've caused. So later on, we started having, talks. We started having civic engagement using social media. After that, we then decided that, okay, you know what, this shouldn't just stop on social media. So we created the app called Sabi, where you can literally, from your palm top, you can actually, send a message to the individual or the elected official that is actually representing your local government or representing the area that you're in. So what you do is just download the app, put your local government, all of these are already pre-typed, and it shows you every single person that is actually representing you, both at the federal level and at the state, at the ward level as well. So we had people send emails using the pre-registered emails pre-typed template that we already had on the platform. And they were sending it down to different people. They were sending it down to the people that they actually, they had voted. some people got responses, some are still awaiting responses. That's essentially how, NG Voices became what it became today. And this is largely because we had to do a bit of, not a bit, but we've been doing a lot of sensitization, and we've also been, giving talks on the importance of a democracy and why everyone should get involved. And that's to answer your first question. I hope I answered you properly, Pastor Ituah.
Well, keep at it. Keep going.
No, that's okay. If I remember,
thankfully, I'm not a policeman. So
okay, if I remember correctly, your second question was why did people go out? Yes, why did people go out? So people were out for, we can say people were out for whatever reason because they're citizens' rights. They should have every right to protest if they wanted to. People were out to just defend their democracy, to actually pay attention to the importance of what a democracy is. People were actually carrying out their civic duties by requesting that the individuals who they had voted into power in 2019 are able to actually they're able to attend to their needs. At first, it started with police brutality, and later it moved into police reforms, and then it moved into, asking for ease in the country, and that was essentially it. Things were and are not still working at this time. And you had citizens come out to say, you know what, we've had enough, and it's high time you actually change this, or you just leave. Every democracy has given us that right? It's sad that the government decided to do what it did. It's sad that we are in this era where it feels like we can't talk anymore. It is sad that the response from the government was, somewhat cowardice. It's sad that we're here. So if you ask me why were people out, I would say that people were actually out to defend their democracy and carry out their civic duties. That's like the shortest answer that I'll give you. But there's also a long answer that I'm sure if I even dive into today, I'm not sure I would be able to finish. And the third one you said was, was the government's response, right? Their actions and their inactions. I would say no, it wasn't. And it is sad that till date, you still have people who are actually denying the fact that a massacre happened. They're denying the fact that people were shot at the toll gate. They're denying the event of October 2020.
Okay. So where are the youth now? How are they feeling? What is the feedback, or what is the general what they call the composure, the attitude, the level of thinking and imagination that young people are right now? How are they feeling? I really want to know how they're feeling.
If you ask me, this administration has further weakened the little sense of public trust that we've had in the past. Before now, we've had a situation where our public trust was on a decline. Now we've gotten to a point where people don't even trust the government anymore. And that is a really, really dangerous way to govern a democracy or govern a society. When public trust is on zero, public morality is also on zero, when it feels like criminals are being rewarded rather than, letting the law take its course. Young people are upset. Young people are fed up. Young people are irritated. Young people don't even trust the government. Young people do not want to, when it comes to governance or when it comes to politics or it comes to these important things to ensure that we have a society, working society, young people are trying to not get involved. Rather, what we have is young people are trying to jackpot just to be able to make a headway and just to be able to survive. Essentially, young people are not, trying to get interested or involved in politics. So at this point, the only way I can see this changing within, very soon is if, we have a change in governance and a change in the entire structure in itself. And that's why you see that most of them are actually going after a particular political party, because they are fed up of the main two and they're interested in just ensuring that their votes count, and they're trying to play their own parts in politics.
So do they have their PVCs, or are they just having thoughts and emotional outbursts and social media activity?
To be honest, going by the figures that INEC, because that's one of the things that we've been doing at NG Voices as well, is trying to, follow the figures and follow the numbers. Going by the figures that were released by INEC, young people are actually the front runners of, PVC collection and PVC registration as well. Now, we've always had the challenge of getting people out to actually vote. And I say this all the time, that whoever it is or whatever candidate is able to ensure that young people actually go out to vote on election day is going to be the next president. So for me, I say that yes, young people are actually picking up their PVCs. Young people are trying to hold each other accountable by getting them to pick up their PVCs, pushing out incentives and initiatives to ensure that they actually play their part in politics. So I'm actually hopeful that we're going to be doing a lot more leading up to 2023 and leading up to when we get our next president.
Well, the word out there is that, yes, young people are this, young people are that. First of all, not many of them have PVC. Secondly, not many of them will vote. But most importantly, most of these young people are in the cities, in the urban areas. There are people in the villages, in the rural areas, in the neck of the woods, in poverty-driven places of Nigeria, that this movement or this thinking, they don't get it. They're not involved, and therefore the amount of voices that we hear is very minuscule, and it have no importance and relevance on election day. What's your thinking?
I kind of disagree, and I disagree because the last time we had this kind of election, or the last time we had this, pardon the background noise, I'm still at work. The last time we had this kind of election, or the last time we had this sort of build-up, was in 1979, where, eventually the election had to go into some sort of runoff. Now, what we're currently witnessing is you're witnessing a whole lot of factors, and these factors actually play very important role in electioneering and in politics in itself. What you have is a movement that is organic and is saying, okay, you know what? If I do not want to, even if I don't want to play a part, I don't want to support any of the two, I would rather waste my vote with a third option. We have not really had that kind of situation where you have people in unison saying they want to waste their vote on a third option. Right now, you've also not had a situation where the last time we had a populist sort of election was the Abiola election. I think that was in 92 or something, where people actually said this is who they want, and they started going out for it. Now, what we have is young people are actually investing their money, they're investing their time. They are building up and building movements and blocks within their individual circles, saying that, you know what, rather than me voting for these two main parties, I would, do something here so my name is somewhat in the sands of time. Then thirdly, you also have a situation where you have people who are upset about the actions that this administration has done. particularly with the actions of the October 2020. So you have them saying, okay, you know what, we are actually going to be pushing this, we're putting all our energy into this particular thing, rather than not doing anything at all. So I don't think young people are being, lame ducks like people actually think they are. I would say to every other candidate or aspirant out there that, this is not the election that you can actually say you already have a winner. Rather, this is an election that people, the candidates should actually engage their voters, and it's not going to be business as usual, I believe.
Well, we'll see, because a lot of the two previously strong, or the two sides of the same coin, feel that all this is hot air, and they're still in charge. They still have access to all the voters. They'll still do their thing as they typically do it. And
I mean, if I were one of them, I would say the same as well.
And they have a right to rule. Let me ask you, what do you think government should have done? You understand? When the NSAS protest, well, you can't even call it a riot, when the NSAS protest was going on, what were you expecting of government? What were you looking for? What do you think government should really have done at that point in time? And they seem to have failed to do it. Do you think they still have a moral justification to even present themselves for election?
When you have a society that feels like it's above everybody and anybody, this is what you eventually, these are the things that would happen. I remember that people didn't want to get involved in the beginning. People didn't actually want to say, they didn't want to listen to what the government was saying at the time, because the government had broken down trust, right? They had broken a lot of trust. Public trust at the time was also on the decline. When you have a society like that, and you feel like, you're not answerable to anybody, and this is me speaking particularly to the president. The president at the time didn't handle the issue properly. And I feel like maybe because of what was being said on the sideline, he just didn't understand what was going on. He, at the time, didn't engage. Rather, he was, sending people who felt like, there's really no point for us to have a conversation. This is how we're going to, this is how we expect it to go, and this is how you guys are going to follow. There was no empathy in the entire scenario, situation, right from when it started to the very end. At some point, you had people say, oh, it's the opposition that are trying to sponsor, the events and things like that. That's a very unfair statement to make, particularly when people are visibly upset about how the country is being run. So if you ask me, what do I think should have been done at the time? I think the government should have communicated effectively. They could have, shown empathy as well. Aside the restructuring that they claim to have happened, they didn't put those restructuring into action. What you eventually had was, they were just saying certain things, but they were not doing those things. So, I would have preferred, if I had seen more empathy from the government, I would have preferred to see more communication from the president and trying to get people to calm down. I would have also preferred to see, more engagement and more restructuring to ensure that they had set the ball rolling to work in its entirety. Those are like the 4 things that I would have done if I was in that situation at first.
We will vote for you, don't worry.
I'm not running. No.
You must make sure you run, Gary.
No, please.
Don't be afraid. Your colleague or your age mate is the president of that country. some Scandinavian country or the other. You know,
and Chile as well, but it's not.
They're all between 32 and 34. I don't know how old you are, but you can't be too far from that age range. So, and they're doing a good job. They're paying teachers very well. Students are not going on strike. The economy is moving. People have
the hospitals are working.
The hospitals are working.
Exactly.
And they're only young women, fine girls too. Look just like you.
Thank you very much.
So maybe that's the qualification now. Fine girl, well spoken, would know how to answer us. At least you know what to do.
No, people like us are best as advisors, actually.
Presidential advisors.
No, we've not gotten there yet.
You say you are advisors, or what do you say?
Yeah, I said people like us are best as advisors, not presidential advisors. We'll just tell them what to do.
Who will bail the cat? You know, if you don't get into the kitchen, you know, since 1982, I've been telling them what to do. I've been fighting them, writing article upon article all over the places. They won't answer you because their worldview and your worldview are totally different. If you don't seize control, you are wasting your time. That's just what I realized, and I realized a little bit late. Don't think that being an advisor, they won't do it. If they wanted to do it, why would they shoot people innocently? Who did it? They were advised. See how long it's taking to open the schools, 8 months. And we don't even know if there was a resolution or if people were just bullied and coward and distressed into resuming this thing or bribed. We don't even know what happened. And that's the truth. You know, in Nigeria, there's no shortage of knowledge. There's no shortage of advice. Our economic plans are some of the most brilliant that anybody can see because they've been written by brilliant people. But the people that you people put in power, they are not interested in all these things. It's too ranchy. Just give me the oil, let me steal it and be going. You understand? So let me ask you another question, and then I'll probably throw the place open because I know quite a lot of people want to engage you. The movement, NSAS, one of your challenges was that, well, also one of your strengths, which also became eventually a bit of a challenge, was that you kept on saying you had no leader. You had no leader. You had no leader. I knew that you were saying so, but you had leaders because I knew that there were some people driving the thing and pulling the strings and giving instructions and giving ideas. There might have been a multiplicity of them in different silos. In fact, the whole thing was started by one person who finally got to the streets and tweeted something or the other, and everybody started to follow. Why did you decide to be leaderless? And even if you started off being leaderless, at some stage, a proletariat of leaders should have emerged. I think it was good, it was strong. I have an idea why you did it. It was a reaction to the Nigerian society and so on and so forth, but I want to hear it from you. But eventually, it's also a bit boomerang. Go ahead and maybe respond.
So I would say that the reason this is me speaking for myself and the people that I know. The reason we had no leader at the beginning or down to the very end or till when it was done is because we understand how the government operates. You also have to remember that most of us, we were privy to like the fact that we saw things happen to our parents, and we heard about the things that also happened to their parents. Now, when you have a situation where the government goes after people who they think are leaders, or you have a situation where the government actually pays attention to like the spare on a particular stake, you know that there's trouble coming. So right from the beginning, we're able to say that, you know what, this movement is just a movement for everybody that actually, that organically grew because we all want the same thing. And we were able to actually finish it off. We're able to actually make our grievances known. We're able to actually, push it out there to ensure that we were heard. I would say till date, even the government of the day is still scared that, when they see people gathering at the toll gates, they're scared of, what might happen, or what my results to people gathering at the toll gate, right? So the fact that we had no leaders was one of the main, things that made them confused, because they didn't know who to actually pick up, they didn't know who to actually bribe, and they didn't know who to actually put on the side to say, okay, this person is now with us and the rest can go home.
Okay. But at the time, the government also wanted to negotiate with you, in fairness to them. Fair is fair. And they then said, step forward, let us talk and let us agree. And in fairness to Mr. President, I must be honest, he more or less said that I will end SARS. And he ended SARS to start another extra SARS the very next day. Well, those are tricks that old men play on their little toddlers.
SARS 2.0. So basically, it goes back to what I'm saying to you about how, when you have a society that public trust is zero, next to none, you also have a society where policies are being, reclined or rescinded without anyone being held accountable. This is what you see happen. No one will want to trust the government, even when you say something that looks like, okay, yes, you're making sense. Eventually, they would see you and they'll be like, no, you're not making sense. And this is another gimmick for you to just get them out of the way.
Yeah, so, but he said that he will look into the police terms, or their employment terms review. I think there were 5 things asked for, and he sort of acceded to 4 or 5 of them and says, come forward, let us talk and agree. And I kept on hearing young people saying, we don't agree, the government has not agreed, they must implement these things. And I said to them, to be honest, that you can't do a police condition review in 2 days. It will take at least 3 or 4 months. If the man says he's going to do it, let us accept that he will do it. Tell them that this SARS 2.0, they shouldn't call a dog a monkey for you, that they should know that you are not toddlers, that some of them ran government at your age. That should have been your response. The other ones, maybe somebody should have asked them for a concrete plan and implementation of those things. You people didn't consider that, or what happened?
Again, it goes back to how they've done things to our parents, and we've heard stories of them doing it to their parents. So zero trust. And the fact is, once they finished with SARS and they created SWAT, it just showed that, yeah, they're actually not ready to engage young people, and they were just doing the same thing all over again. So no one just trusted, and everyone just said, till we actually see concrete efforts to ensure that this stops, we're not going to leave the street.
All right, fair enough. I know government is listening. I think 1 or 2 of their people are on this platform. So please
They
take
come for me.
word.
I'm actually going to come for you, Auntie Jumoke.
No problem. I'm ready. And fear not. We are in this together. Fear not. Well, they can't make, they shouldn't. Well, fear not, sha. So let them take the word back that the trust in government has been lost. Whether they agree or they believe it, or they think it's just some children making noise, they're not serious. Let them know some people are saying so. And then the president himself must find a way where he can find out information for himself, not filtered information that people want him to hear. You know, one of the things he said that day was, those children that wanted to get me out of office. I mean, how can he say that? I'm sure he said so because some SSS or NIA man had told him that, don't mind those children. They are trying to plan an overthrow that is being sponsored by opposition. And then that victim mentality that everything must be sponsored by somebody and something. Some people somewhere don't like some people. Everything is personalized. That's not what it is. It's not whether we like you or not. All we know is that we want good things and better things in Nigeria. It's not personal. It is wanting something, and everybody has a right to demand what they like. You know, some people have said one of the challenges of Nigeria is that there are no Nigerians. Let me explain. I was with an elder statesman recently, and I was discussing with him another leader. He said that leader is, first of all, let me say, an Edo man before he's a Nigerian. So the difference is that I'm a Nigerian of Edo extract, if you get what I'm saying. Is it true that there are no Nigerians? One leader, Awolowo, said Nigeria is just a mere geographical expression, that it's just a boundary. Then I heard recently also that, of course, the boundaries were artificial, created by Europeans for their own benefit, not really for our benefits. So they forced us together for their own benefits. That even the Fulanis especially, they spread across from Futajalon in Mali down to Chad. And that for them is really their nation, which they wanted to push downwards to the coast. And that whole effort was destroyed, and they confused their languages, French, English, Spanish, all over the place. What is your thinking about what I have said? And how do we, finding where we are, react to it?
I usually say that the country doesn't make the people actually make the country. And I feel like, but I mean, with evidence, it has just shown that at this point, the reason we're having this situation, or the reason we're having this reoccurrence of Nigeria's unity, is because you have people who are at the top that are actually gaining from the fact that the country is currently in this area. If you had a president who was paying attention to equity, fairness, and justice, you would realize that you don't have this much level of disunity. Rather, he would be working to ensure that, we are not as disunited, but he will actively ensure that we are playing our part in holding the country's unity. I would also say that as individuals, it's not just about the governance. Like I said, the country makes the people make the country, not the country making the people. We also have to play our own part in ensuring that the country is, united, and it is, successful, be economically or, in growth or whatever we do. We also have to play our individual part in ensuring that the country is prosperous, be either by our way of song, either by our way of actions, or whatever we do. We just have to also play our part in ensuring that we create an economy that is sustainable, successful, and prosperous. So to just answer the question that you asked, I would say that the people make the country, not the country making the people.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Auntie Jumoke is clapping for you, because she's saying, well, if I clap for you, if you get into trouble, you won't call me. That's why she clapped for you, by the way. So you can take her up on that. So let me ask you one or two more questions and then I'll get my brother Afolabi down to ask you a question. And watch out for Afolabi's questions. So they're very cryptic and straight to the heart of the matter, but he's a good guy. Okay. Now, what is the role of the Nigerian youth in nation building? What are you young people thinking of doing now, 2023, and in the future to build the Nigeria of our dreams, where things really work? That's what we want in Nigeria, for things to work, for there to be equity and justice, for there to be opportunity, for there to be rule of law, for you to know your rights, for people not to trample on your rights, and for you to be heard and allowed to practice your craft without having to know those who are in government or in power. What role are you people going to play? Or what are the young people going to do?
I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for the people within my own circle. And I would say that this is like one of the motivation for me that, I had spoken about at some point during my course. And we funded a project within several local governments in Osun State, whereby we had speakers within the markets. One of the popular markets was the Sabun Gari market, I think, in Ile-Ife. So we had like the speakers up, and we had the messages translated in proper Yoruba. We also had the Hausa and the Igbo language. Then we also had the numbers of the senator that was currently representing that locality. We also had the governor's office address, and we had other things play within that speakers. At some point, we wanted to stop the message. I think this was after like 3 months. We actually wanted to stop the message because we felt like people weren't listening. Only for us to get a message, I think a week after, when we had complained that, they had told us that people weren't really listening to it in the markets and all, and we said we're going to turn it off. About a week after, we got a call from the market leader saying that, the market actually said they were going to sponsor that project that we're doing by way of contribution. So they said they wanted to get like a longer pole to mount the speaker on, so everybody within the market could hear, and they were going to buy another speaker, which they did. Now, when we had to write to INEC to get the figures from that particular locality in terms of registration. And what we had realized was that more people had actually gone to register within Osun State, within the Sabungari, I think that's what it's called, in Ile-Ife. That's the name of the market. It's a major market. And people actually got involved to register. What I'm saying in essence is, people do not get involved until they know the reason that they're getting involved. People want to do things for Nigeria. They want to get involved. They want to do things, but they need that little push to be able to get them to do things. When I heard that message, when I heard that the market people said they're actually going to contribute and get the longer pole, and they were going to get another speaker, I was so happy. I wasn't happy because, they were, saying they wanted to buy this, because I was happy because they actually contributed. I heard people contributed as little as 100 naira just to be able to buy a longer pole and add money to buy another speaker so the message could be playing around. So in terms of what people are doing, people just want that push. They want to be able to see that somebody is doing something, and they would also want to join in and get involved. So people are actually working, people are getting involved, people are paying more attention to civic engagement, they're paying more attention to public accountability. I'm just hoping that, we're able to sustain this momentum, and, we're able to also ensure that we get this message to the finish line.
Right. Thank you very much. Sorry, I was a bit muted there. Get the message to the finish line, as it were, so that everybody will know exactly what is going on in this particular country. So that this thing, but what I was sort of expecting. Was that you will say to me that you guys, I mean, what I was actually expecting was that you would say to me that you guys are forming a political party, you guys are joining a political party, you guys are going to contest elections, you guys are going to make sure that only the right people get into government, and so on and so forth, to take Nigeria back and to turn the right way around. I don't know if you all are thinking of that. I've already told you to run for office. You say you don't want to run.
No,
Well,
please. No, please. We can't all do the same thing at the same time. So everyone has to pick different paths just to be able to ensure that we are getting the message out and we are working concurrently to get into the finish line.
Well, I think part of your job then is to do what I call leadership identification. You must find people who are going to get involved. You know, one of the mistakes that was made in this 2023 is that very few people actually joined the political parties to try and make a difference. So by the time they came up with their 15 choices, we had almost no say in any of the 15, you know, and you are talking like Yemi Adamaleko. I've tried to get her to run for office too, and she's been dodging and refusing. Some people have to run for office, you know, some people have to get inside, you know, advisory is advisory, and your person you're advising is at liberty to take your advice or not. But if you are in charge, if you carry the red pen or the green pen, then you can write whatever you want and make your ideas come to pass. All right, let me take a question from Afolabi Ajidan. Let me hear what he has to say. Nimah, I hope you are still on.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Nimah,
right.
Good evening. Very well spoken. And kudos to what you're doing. And please continue to do it even beyond the elections in 2023. That's the only way I can encourage you. Good evening, everybody. And my question is just an observation, actually. And it goes out to you, Pastor, as well, and to Pastor Sonny and Pastor Jumoke, anybody. It's just I noticed that I wasn't expecting anything from this government or Lagos State government. But I'm quite disappointed that I've not heard or read anything from Peter Obi or even the DP on such an emotional day to many people, many Lagosians, many people all around Nigeria today, many parents and many youths like you, Nina, to commiserate, condole what happened 2 years ago. No mention from any of our senators, no mention from any of our political leaders and everything. My question is straight to the point is, what are your thoughts on just their pure silence? So they're doing what this current government, I expected this government to do, to be silent because they're already in denial of it. And I saw some images and videos of people who just went and were very emotional and police were carrying them away and everything today. And are we in a democracy or are we in a dictatorship? You know, I just wanted to know what your thoughts were and yours as well, Pastor Ituah, on this just pure silence of denial, basically.
Well, I can't speak for Peter Obi and all the other political parties. I think it's also part of their underestimation of the power of the youth and what actually happened at that toll gate with NSAS. They tend to just wave it off and think that it's just a little fly on their lovely white shirts or white agbadas as it is. As I said, they don't know how fundamental it is to the essence of Nigeria, physically, emotionally, morally, and above all, spiritually. So let's wait and see what happens. Okay? I think Faye or Taji also has a question.
Hello,
Faye,
can you hear me?
We can hear you, Faye.
All right, thank you. Thank you, sir. So I think I have like an observation, and I'd like Nimah to sort of take attention to it. I heard or I saw on my charts that currently some INEC office in Lagos State and some other states that are APC, when you go there to pick up your PVC and you are shouting, you are voting Labour Party, they will delay you from collecting your PVC. I don't know how true this is, but I mean, it has fitted into my timeline. And I think it's something maybe the voice NG can look into to see how they can sensitize either the people collecting the PVC or the INEC office regarding what is going on ground. I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
All right. Nimah, you have any comments on that? You are muted.
Oh, sorry. So what we've done, currently we are in touch with some INEC officials to ensure or to let them know that some people are actually talking about voters. There's a word for it. Sorry, I've forgotten. Slipped off my head. Where people can voters disenfranchisement. Actually, we brought it to their attention, particularly in areas like Alaba, Okota, Ojo, and I think there's Amuwo Dofin. Those 4 areas are the areas that we've actually written to them about, and they've promised to get back to us with regards to the controls that they're going to put in place to ensure that, that people actually, voter suppression. Thank you very much. To ensure that people actually can pick up their PVCs. Another thing that I have personally said to people is that once you face things like that, regardless of the party you want to go for, regardless of the party you intend to go with, try to document it, because at some point when you have individuals going to the tribunal to contest the elections, these are the kind of things that they would eventually present to the tribunals that they went through when they're having this conversation. So aside the fact that we have actually gotten in touch with INEC to bring these things to their attention, I always let people know the importance of actually documenting things like this, because it will be useful in the future. Did I answer the question for you, or is that enough?
I think we'll let you off on that. I'm being told that Omoyele Showore was at the Lekki toll gate today. So at least there's been some interest from his side in what is going on with NSAS. I think Joe has a question. Joe, please, very quickly.
Actually, it's John. It's just my initials, Joe, J-O-E, but it's John.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry about
John.
that. Yeah, it's John. It's me.
It should be J-O-B, John.
Nimah, congratulations. I mean, well done. Really, glad to hear and excited to hear all that you all have done. But I'm just thinking moving forward, any small effort that starts and wants to really make a significant impact has to be scaled up. So as you think about, sort of the future and doing even greater things beyond what you all have already achieved, if you had 2 or 3 major asks to scale up your efforts, what would they be? And essentially, as we say here, if you wanted to get this whole movement on steroids, what would those 2 or 3 major asks be to support and scale up your efforts?
I would say like-minded Nigerians at first, because you can't actually get a movement if you're the only one on, on that particular platform. So I would say like-minded Nigerians. I would also say funding, actually. That's also very important because, again, we've actually been doing this on our own, and this is because a lot of us still believe in Nigeria and we want a Nigeria that works. Then lastly, I would say that, volunteers, tons of them as well, because for every time we get a message out, or for every time, we're trying to push something to ensure that people are listening, we also need these volunteers to help us get the message out there. So those are the three things I would say for us, because you can't educate people on the issues of governance if, they're not even interested at all.
Okay,
Joe?
Wonderful, thank you. And I believe in the work that you do, and so I'm not, trying to start another movement on this line, but I just want to, sort of offer my support, and we can talk offline, and commitment to the work of NG Voices.
Thank you. You can actually follow us on Twitter and on Instagram and on Facebook. I think it's NG Voices NG. We make a lot of like cartoon stuff. We actually use cartoon and a lot of graphics to try and get the message out there.
Okay, so I'll talk to you offline.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know, Nimah, I know you have to run. I know you kind of really stretch, so really appreciate you taking the time. But before you go, I think it's important to also applaud the work that you're doing and your partnership with ALG on the scoring app, and the fact that you have committed to helping spread the word, translating the app, the leadership scoring app, into the different languages, and the information you have on your website on the presidential candidates. It's pretty impressive. And I know we'll have you back on the platform to talk about that another time. You've stayed much longer than you had anticipated. Wanted to really applaud you and thank you for that. I'm sure Pastor Sonia and everyone here at ALG appreciates the work you're doing. Not a lot of you are celebrated. I know you're doing this behind the scenes. You're the unsung heroes, and you do inspire the rest of us to continue to do this. And I'm extremely proud of you and very grateful for the things you're doing, as I'm sure all of us are here at ALG. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Pastor Nimah has to run. I don't know if you have
I think I can still take one question from Ituah. I think she says she has, so Ituah, please. Is Ituah there?
Recording in progress.
I just asked her to unmute. Ituah, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? Yes.
Okay, I don't think she's there anymore.
She's still here. I don't know why she can't unmute.
Right. So I don't know if you're.
Yeah, I'm here, please. Oh, thank God. A very quick one.
Yes.
I believe that the youth, people say the youth are not teachable. Even a pastor might have said that, I challenged them. But it pains me that I'm old school. When you try to talk to them, like you tell them, this thing you're doing, it's not good, or your dressing is not good. What they say to you, you're not my mother. Mind your business. What way can we approach them? Please, how can we talk to the youth? How can we make them listen to us? How can we make them reason with us? What approach can we use, please? I'm not giving up on them. Thank you very much.
That question passed my power. I really don't know how. I honestly don't know how else to speak to the youth. I would say maybe using languages that, they understand, or building trust actually between yourself and them. Let them be able to trust you, to be able to see you as people that they can have certain conversations with. I don't think, we can be strong-headed or wheel-headed, but I know that at some point you would still get the message out there if you want to. So I feel, I would say building trust in order to get your message out there. That's all I can say. I really don't know anything else. I can only speak for myself.
All right. Can you still take Noyo's question, or your private jet is waiting?
Pastor Ituah, please. Okay, I'll take Noya's question. I'll take Noya's question.
When Pastor speak, you go say amen now. Not the private jet.
Private jet, it's not me. Noya's question, please.
Noyo, please ask your question very quickly before she goes off. After that, I know Yemi Ademolekun is on the program.
I was trying to unmute myself. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Okay, Noyo, we can hear you now.
Yes. Good afternoon. I didn't get your and Nimah. Good afternoon, yes. Pastor Nimah. I'm really very impressed with what you are doing in Nigeria. I are empowering the youth. But I want to ask, in the line of what Pastor Ituah said earlier on, I should consider taking up a leadership role, running. If you do not want to run, my question is, and what I want you to do is a big assignment, but it is good in the long run, because you are going to take over from the older generation. So you should be preparing yourself. Are you identifying leaders that they have the quality to run anytime soon? And what you do so that you can actually take over the country. It's not what you do from one state, across the country, to the local government, to the grassroots. This is a big work. And if you are doing this, a lot of people want to support what you are doing. So identifying leaders so that when you eventually come and go, that we are ready to take over. Then you have people from all the states to the local government to the federal government. You have identified them. They've been prepared, and you run and take over that country. Are you able to do that? It's a big assignment, but it's doable. I'm just thinking.
When it comes to leadership, for me, I particularly don't pay attention to just, me, I'm very pro-women leaders. I'm very, very pro-women leaders. So I think I've spoken to Jumoke about this before, about how, aside NG Voices, there's something that we're actually working on for women who are from the southern part of Nigeria. That's south, southwest, and southeast, who want to run for office. So I spoke to her about it, is ensuring that women like myself, women like Auntie Jumoke, women like yourself as well, are able to, take that spearhead in terms of politics. It's something that is going to happen eventually, and something we are going to speak about. I can't speak about it now, but I can take your contact and I'll send you an email at some point. I'll have them send you an email at some point as well. Thank you for asking the question.
Thank you very much, Nimah. And Jumoke has one that we need to let you go. Do you have any final or closing comments?
Closing comment for me would be that I love that we have this fire in us to ensure that Nigeria becomes a great country, as it should. This country is home for me. There's nowhere else that's home, even if I'm abroad, and home is always home. So I would implore everyone and, ask that we play our part as citizens to ensure that we continue to move this country forward. Even though you have people who are trying to drag the country backwards, we shouldn't let them have their way. Pick up your PVCs. Please, please, please get out to vote. If you don't vote, somebody else will vote for you. And someone else voting for you is more dangerous to our democracy than, what we currently have right now. So please play your part by picking up your PVC. Please play your part by getting involved in, civic engagements. And also, please play your part in ensuring that we have a country that we're proud of. Thank you very, very much for having me, and thank you very, very much for the work that you all are doing.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for having us also. And thank you for the work you're doing. Somebody said I should ask you quickly, are you connected to Nigerian youth all over the world?
We have a directory where we've asked everyone to actually sign up, and it's under NG Voices Peer Review. So yes, we're getting there. We have a huge number at this point.
All right. God bless you.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Don't worry, you'll be okay. If anyone comes after you, give them my address.
No problem at all. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for having me.
Thank
Goodbye.
you.
Bye-bye. Yeah. We have Yemi Adamolekun, an old friend who is really more like a sister. We've been through quite a few things, shared a lot of ideas, and she's very, very strong and in the forefront of engagement of people, leadership, awareness, consciousness, and so on and so forth. It'd be nice for her to give us a rundown of what happened to this anniversary of NSAS, and if she has any other comments to bring to the platform. So please welcome with me, Yemi. Please unmute yourself, and let's take your comments very quickly.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. We can't see.
Okay, brilliant. All right, sorry, there's no light. And I just got back. I just got back home. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Pastor Ituah, for having me speak. So today we decided to repeat what we did last year, which is basically a car procession through Lekki Tollgate to remember those who died and the victims and their families. In a lot of ways, all of us are victims, really, of the October 2020 protest, and particularly October 20th. And we had done pretty well. We had gone around the toll gate twice. We had caskets, 6 caskets, symbolizing the people that were murdered at the toll gate. And as we did the final round, I wanted to literally, we just wanted to leave the caskets at the toll gate. I think that kind of triggered the policemen, and they went off with their tear gas, and everyone dispersed. Up till then, when we arrived, they had stayed to the sides. At a point, they came out, I think when they thought we were blocking traffic too much, they came out and kind of got us moving along the way. But the act of the tear gas was really very unnecessary. Not only did they do that, they also arrested people. I personally got involved in getting 4 people released for no reason. I mean, they couldn't say they did anything, and they knew they were just harassing people. I saw policemen literally chase down people on Lekki Expressway. There was a lady in front of me as I walked away. When the tear gas went on, I was at the toll gate, so I just hid in the toll gate booth because I couldn't see. And so it took me a while to get, I had water and I had my towel, so my eyes cleared after a while. But yeah, so as I walked out, a lot of people had gone, most people had gone. But there was a young lady walking, and she was walking very fast. She wasn't even trying, even me, I was walking quite slowly. She was walking very fast, and they were trying to harass her to get off the road. She said, "I'm going to my car." They saw there were 2 guys, 2 of the guys that carried one of the caskets. And I literally saw a police officer chase them. They were just on the road. It wasn't that they were doing anything. They were literally just on the road. And so, yeah, and I think it just speaks a lot to where we still are as a country. A reminder around how the police see citizens, how the state really sees its citizens. I mean, NSAS is still being denied by government at the federal and state level. Police reforms haven't seen the light of day, even though, thankfully, one of the things we demanded was that their salaries be increased, and that has been done. I believe the payment is starting this month or started last month. We're trying to confirm exactly. Only one newspaper reported that they were being paid, so we're kind of a bit hesitant to put that out. So yeah, it was quite an interesting day. Reminder of old wounds for quite a number of people who were at the toll gate on October 20th. So yeah, that's pretty much the rundown of.
Okay, thank you very much, Yemi. Now that we have your attention, what are your thoughts on the way NSAS went, and what do you think the outcomes of NSAS is going to be, and where do we go from here?
Sorry, I didn't hear the first part of your question. Ituah.
What are your thoughts on the way NSAS has gone? Where are we? What is 2023 going to look like from where you stand? And what do we do from here?
I mean, I'll pick up, I joined the conversation late, but I'll pick up a bit from what you were speaking to Nimah about the young people running for office. I quite agree. For someone who's led an organization that's been nonpartisan for over a decade, I think while I also agree with Nimah that all of us can't do the same thing, but I think there has to be a bit more deliberateness around not just young people, just people who want to serve generally. And I deliberately don't use the word good and bad, but deliberately people who want to serve running for political office. I think in a very interesting way, we tend to place the bar very high on people who want to run. Have you done this? Can you do this? We're a lot more critical about people who want to serve than we are of politicians who really don't care very much for us. So I certainly agree with you that more young people should run for office, but I think we also shouldn't underestimate just how traumatized we all are. Not just young people, as Nigerians generally. There's no way you can live in a country like this that treats its citizens, its people, the way we treat ourselves. And it's not just government, by the way. It's how individuals we treat ourselves. So there's no way you can live in a country like this and not be traumatized. And I think we underestimate what that does to our psyche and our willingness to take action. Chude Jidon premiered a movie yesterday called Awaiting Trial, just basically a documentary about people in Nigeria's prison system. And it said something, it said a nation is measured by the way it treats its weak and vulnerable. And the truth is Nigeria doesn't treat its weak and vulnerable very well, not even its non-weak and non-vulnerable. So yeah, more people who want to serve need to run for office. There's no messiah coming from anywhere, absolutely nowhere. And for those of us on this platform, Nigeria's educated elite, we honestly need to decide for ourselves in our own enlightened self-interest, literally be selfish enough to believe that or own the fact that we deserve better and we can do better, and let that propel us into action. You spoke about presidential candidates that didn't speak. I mean, Atiku has a tweet on, that's one that I checked. I'm sure I'm not expecting Bola Tinubu to have a tweet. Sowore did come to the toll gate, but Sowore is also quite triggering. And I don't think the police particularly likes him there. He's a presidential candidate. Because his presence could, and I think that's a delicate balance between showing solidarity, but also putting people at risk in a sense. And I did tell him that to his face, really, that he shouldn't have come. And I'm saying that deliberately because he was mentioned as someone that was there, but I believe that he shouldn't have been there, just because it heightens tension. Yeah, and it's not because, and in fairness to Yele, it's not because that he's trying to identify with NSAS. He's been working on, I mean, Yele was a student activist. So this is who he is as a person. So he didn't necessarily need to be there for what it might result in. And then thirdly, we need to also be intentional about raising leaders that understand the issues and want to serve. Obviously, Kwesili and a few others started a school called the School of Policy, Politics, and Governance. For anyone interested, I'll highly recommend it. I think the deadline has passed for next year's class, but when it does come up next year, I would strongly recommend it. You don't need to want to run for office, want to serve in any capacity, or even a crash course in Nigeria and Nigeria's dynamics. We have about 90 faculty. I was part of the pioneer class in 2021, and I'm also a member of the faculty. So I'll highly recommend it. And for young people, I think someone asked a question about speaking to young people. My experience is that one, the trauma of just being Nigerian, being young in Nigeria. Second, their generation think they know a lot, also because they have access to information. And as someone put in the chat, just getting to know them and trusting and building trust before prescribing. And we see a lot of that, especially from even the NSAS protests. The number of calls that I got at that time, oh, young people, this is what you should be doing. This is what you should be doing. Yes, there's something to be said for experience and age. But for people who were literally coming into their own, I think the approach should have been a lot more, let's come alongside you and work on this together, rather than this is what you should be doing and pushing them out from a generation that for a lot of them, they feel has failed them. And now you failed me. Nigeria is in a rot or has gotten to this point under your watch, but yet you think you can tell me what to do and how to do it. So I think a lot more, and there's something in Pastor Ituah, maybe for ALG, a lot more intergenerational conversations would be useful in bringing generations together to share what they think. I mean, one of the things we talked about with NSAS was quite a lot of the young people thought this was novel. This was the first time young people were going to use their voice. And even without going too far back, there was the 1993 Abiola protest. Enough is enough. I mean, 1999 coming into democracy. Enough is enough came into being after a protest or protests in 2010. There was Occupy Nigeria. So it wasn't the first time. Yes, the scale was huge, but certainly wasn't the first time. So part of that intergenerational sharing would also be useful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yemi. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your efforts over Nigeria. Please be assured of our prayers and our support.
Thank you.
And we'll still engage you a bit more. And I really like the fact that you do and you're encouraging as many people as possible to get involved in this process. I think we all should, and we all must get involved and not feel that it is another person's problem to solve. Nigeria belongs to all of us. We're going to end at this junction, but I'm going to ask Jumoke to come up and say a few things, and then we'll say a prayer, and then we will close. Jumoke Akintelo, please.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to call out the names of the victims at the Lekki toll gate 2 years ago. It's a lot, but we just want to remember each and every single one of them. And as Pastor prays for them and their families, I think it's important for us to remember their sacrifice and the sacrifice of many others for the sake of Nigeria, and for us to be motivated to get involved in rebuilding Nigeria. So, and this is a list that I got online, and Victor Sonny Akpenga, male, he died at Lekki toll gate. Abuta Solomon also died, he's male. Jide doesn't have a last name, he died, he's male. Nicholas Okpe, gunshot injury, male. Ukala Patrick Ayinde, gunshot, he survived. Olalekan Faleye, gunshot, male, he survived. Mabel Inaji, gunshot, female, she survived. Joshua Samuel, gunshot, male, he survived. Lucky Philemon, gunshot, male, he survived. Ajuku Japhet, gunshot, male, he survived. Okpe Kende, injury to the wrist, he survived. Charles Chinede, assault by the military, male, he survived. Damilola Adedayo, gunshot, male, survived. Andrew Ukochukwu, assault by military, he survived. And Samuel, assault by military, male, he survived. Isaac Amede, gunshot injury, male, he survived. Felix Inandi, gunshot injury, he survived. Emmanuel John, assault. Simon Abu, injury from assault, male. Moses Adams, gunshot, male, he survived. Xavier Osike, assault by the military, male, he survived. Moses Oyi, gunshot, injury, male, he survived. Yunusa Adamu, gunshot injury, male, he survived. John Harrison, assault by the military, he survived. Solomon Samuel, gunshot injury, male, he survived. Theophilus David, gunshot injury, he survived. Trust, Averogo, gunshot injury, male, he survived. Olamide Dauda, stampede, he survived. Samuel Ashola, gunshot, male, he survived. Aswe Roland Thomas, assault, male, he survived. Emmanuel Ogbona, gunshot injury, male, he survived. Joshua James, gunshot injury, male, he survived. Paul Femi, gunshot injury, male, he survived. Olalekan Sanusi, severe assault by military, male, he survived. Olalekan Abiden Ashafa, dead, male. Olamilekan Ajasa, male, he died. Kolade Salami, male, deceased. Folonsho Olabisi, male, deceased. Ugo Kenechukwu, male, deceased. Abiodun Adesanya, missing, presumed dead, male. Ifeanyi, missing, presumed dead, male. Tola, missing, presumed dead, male. Wisdom, missing, presumed dead, male. Ifeanyi Agbeze, gunshot injury, he survived. Stanley Chimeze, gunshot injury, male, he survived. Natalie Solomon, deceased, male. Ayodeji Beckley, injured, male. Onile Owo, legend, severe assault by police, male. And I think it's important to know the names of the victims. Oftentimes, we don't know their names and we don't remember the sacrifice they made. I called out the names of about 48 young people that were at that toll gate. Some of them died and some of them survived, but the trauma remains. And it's important for us not to forget them, for us to build, whether it's a living memorial in our heart or even on this platform, what we have done today, for us to continue to remember Nigerians every day who go out and are victims of our society, are victims of this current situation that we have now. So Pastor, over to you thank you.
This is very, very sobering indeed.
Yes.
And I'm sure that this is not the fullest, I saw a picture. Okay. So I saw that picture myself. I saw that picture Photoshop, and I don't think it was Photoshop. One or two others. I think we should just bow our heads. I think we should just bow our heads. Remember every one of them in prayer. Those who have lost their lives, I think we should remember their families in prayer. The loss of a loved one, especially at that age, where they are totally irreplaceable, is inconsolable. And those who survived, may the Lord heal them, not just physically, but emotionally. May the Lord get rid of the trauma that they feel every day. May the Lord help them. Let's just pray for them and for their families, that God will bring a word of comfort to all these families, that God will bring a word of peace to all these families, that God will guide and protect them, and that their labor will not be in vain. That the blood, like the blood that was shed on the cross of Calvary, will not be in vain, to bring about restoration, reparation, a new direction, and a new beginning for our great nation, Nigeria. Let us pray for the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that the Lord should have mercy and grant us great leadership, that the Lord, even in his own infinite mercy and wisdom, will forgive the sins of our current and our past leaders, because the Lord does not wish that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. Forgive their sins, omission, commission, deliberate sins, and sins of ignorance in some regard. and mistakes that they have made in the opportunity that was divinely given to them to do something great. May God have mercy upon them, upon their families, and help us in Nigeria. Let us pray that 2023, the elections will go well. There will be no problem. The voice of the people will be heard according to their level of understanding, and that there will be peace in Nigeria. And what the devil, the Europeans, the British meant for evil, that God will turn it to good and indeed make Nigeria, albeit Africa, great again. Let us pray for the emancipation of our people from their minds into their hearts and into their spirits, that the people will think differently, think better, think of great things, think of cooperation to make life better for everyone. In the name of Jesus Christ. I pray for all the youth that are missing or accounted for that day. I pray that their souls will rest in God's bosom and that God will comfort their families. I pray for all the youth of Nigeria, that God will strengthen them, that the mistakes of our own generation will not speak against us, and that God will have mercy. And they, when the opportunity comes, will do much better than us. I pray that it shall be well with them, shall be well with Nigeria, shall be well with all of you on this platform. Whatever it is that you're begging God for, may my God hear you. May he answer. May he speak a word of joy and comfort to all of you in the name of Jesus Christ. Our labor over Nigeria will not be in vain, and all will be well. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. God bless you all. Good night. Please remember our young ones and Nigeria in your prayers. God bless you.
Amen. God bless you.
As a last resort to rebellion against tyranny and oppression, that human rights should be protected by rule of law.
Pastor Ituah, bless you, man.